Lunchtime Live on News Talk.
Brought to you by Avant Money. Think you're getting the best value from your bank? Think again.
Now, the other big story today with regards to the vaccination rollout is the fact that the vaccination centre at the Aviva in Dublin is to close this coming weekend. It's to facilitate the Ireland Rugby International, the friendly with Japan. Paul Murphy is a TD for Dublin South West, People Before Profit. He's with us here on Lunchtime Live today. Paul, with the intense focus that we've had over the last couple of days around the vaccination rollout, given the fairly bleak forecasts of the Delta scenario, should we be closing or pausing a vaccination centre for 2 days?
I don't think so, precisely for the reason that you're saying, that everyone now understands that it's a race between vaccination and the Delta variant. We know that at the moment 57% of the population either have had no vaccines or have had one vaccine, so they're not very well protected against Delta. It's obviously unfortunate we're in this situation. The government was warned over a month ago and didn't take action to try and slow the spread. But now, considering we are where we are, we really could do without losing days at the Aviva. And it's also happening in Limerick. In the Limerick race course is being closed for a whole number of dates over the next couple of months, just like the Aviva. And that's thousands of vaccinations that won't be happening that otherwise would be happening, and we certainly could do without that at this time.
My instant reaction when I heard this last night initially when I saw it online, Paul, was surely we can just find another venue for 2 days. Like, we had a report there about 2 weeks ago talking about the occupancy rates, or the low occupancy rates, for instance, in hotels in Dublin in particular. Mm-hmm. Surely we can just find another venue for 2 days.
Yeah, but it doesn't seem to me that there's any plans to do that. So I think it is good that, sports events are going ahead on this trial basis. They're outdoor, they're reasonably safe, etc. So I'm not saying at all, stop that so we can do the vaccination. But we need to find a way to ensure that the vaccination can go ahead. And there's a number of different ways that could happen. One, like you say, is to find alternative vaccination centres. But that doesn't mean, for example, I know that in Limerick, what happened was that people were diverted from Limerick Racecourse to the vaccination centre in Neenah. But that's already a vaccination centre. There's no extra capacity. So it has to be new centres being set up. It could mean alternative venues for the sporting events, or just even at a very basic level, it seems to me we're losing every time there's a sports event, for example, in the Aviva over the next couple of months. The current plan is to lose the entire day. And just even at a minimum basis, is that really necessary? Is it not possible for us to lose, 4 or 5 or 6 hours as opposed to literally losing the entire day? Because again, that would make a difference.
Yeah, stay with us, Paul, because actually, Martin Murphy is the stadium director at the Aviva Stadium and is with us here too on Lunchtime Live. Martin, will you just explain what's happening this weekend?
Yeah, so, I suppose the first thing is that the stadium has been made available by the RFU and the FAI free of charge since April of 2020. And we've had testing taking place here. And for the last 4 months, we've had vaccination 7 days a week. The arrangement we have with the HSE is that for the international matches, the stadium reverts back to the two sports. We'll also be doing some essential maintenance on those days. So the vaccinations will shut down for the days of the match, and for 2 of the events the day before. There's only 4 matches over the summer planned at this stage, and that's not likely to increase. So it is somewhat of a disruption to the vaccinations, which is regrettable, but it's minimal in the overall context. Like over 160,000 vaccinations have taken place at Aviva, and we're very proud of that. But at the end of the day, we have to run our international events here as well.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, I don't think you disagree with that, Paul. Like as Martin mentioned there, they've made the Aviva Stadium free to the HSE to allow for this vaccination rollout. Like, it's really up to the HSE and government to find alternative locations.
Exactly, I agree. I mean, the RFU and the FAI are to be thanked for making their facilities available. They've obviously been used, very effectively. But from a health point of view, the emphasis is rightly being put. We need to maximise the amount of vaccinations. That will make a real difference in terms of, are we going to be, in terms of protecting the reopening, even the reopening that has happened so far, you look at the numbers in Britain in terms of the Delta variant, it's really out of control at this stage. And in terms of protecting public health, lives, long COVID, all of that. So we need to find a solution which doesn't involve the slowing down of vaccination. And there are many possible solutions, but it's I agree, it's the job of the Department of Health and the HSE to come up with one.
Is it about 6 or about 3,000 per day, Martin, that would have been vaccinated at your venue previously?
Yeah, I think that's some of the busiest days. We've had around 3,000.
Yeah, so effectively, HSE would be looking for a venue to try and get, or even multiple venues to get about 6,000 vaccinated. So over the next weekend.
Yeah, that's probably right.
Yeah,
but I know that they have increased the numbers in the run up to the weekend, and we'll be back in action straight away on Sunday morning as well.
Yeah, and on those particular dates, Martin, too, you mentioned those 4 dates where the Aviva is obviously needed for rugby matches. They would have been well flagged in advance.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah,
they've been in the programme.
Yeah, I was just looking at this actually. I see a spokesperson for the HSE said the closures wouldn't affect the vaccination levels because there have been additional appointments scheduled in advance, and some extra vaccinations too have been redirected to the UCD centre. I mean, I'm just looking at texts in here, Paul, as well, from people talking about, well, you mentioned Limerick. I see there's some talk too here in the text line, people talking about the Galway centre and other centres too closing for a short period to allow for sporting events. Is this something you're calling on the HSE and government now to address in the coming weeks?
Yes, because that's interesting in terms of stories coming in about Galway. It suggests that this is happening across the country, and that's understandable.
Yeah.
We've been using sporting venues. Now some sporting events are going ahead. Now there's an issue, but we do need to deal with it. And the idea that diverting people to other existing vaccination centres means that there isn't a problem, that doesn't stack up. Surely we should be using all of the existing venues to full capacity right now already. And then we have extra capacity in terms of the Aviva. That's very important. On the days that the Aviva isn't open, we lose that capacity, and that capacity does need to be replaced elsewhere. Otherwise, the bottom line is that the figures in terms of vaccinations on those days will definitely show a dip, and every day, every vaccination does count.
I have a text in here from a listener who says there's no need for vaccination centres, simply just use the pharmacists and the GPs. Another listener says the vaccination centres are a huge setup, they're a huge operation. It'll take days to put the operation back in place. To tell us about that, Martin, in terms of the actual preparation.
Yeah, no, that's not correct. The setup here won't change, and it's in a part of the stadium that's not being used. So, that's there's no interruption with the way in which it's going to operate. Yeah,
okay. The other story, I suppose, as well, Paul Murphy and Martin Murphy, thank you both for your time here on Lunchtime Live.
Lunchtime Live on News Talk.
Brought to you by Avant Money. Think you're getting the best value from your bank? Think again.